Foreign intelligence services are on alert this morning over a new disclosure from Edward Snowden. The Guardian reports that documents leaked by the fugitive security contractor show the NSA monitored phone calls of 35 world leaders. American officials are warning other governments that the Snowden leaks could reveal their intelligence operations. And this morning in USA Today, a White House Homeland Security aide says the Obama administration is reviewing its surveillance policies. Senior correspondent Miller is a former deputy director of national intelligence. He spoke with a top CIA official giving his first ever television interview to 60 Minutes. John, good morning.
Good morning.
So what can you tell us about what our government was doing, tapping 35 leaders?
Well, nothing. But I can tell you this, from my experience in government and out, all governments do this. I mean, we have to kind of get past the moment from the movie in Casablanca where Claude Rains says, you know, he was shocked. But one of the people we talked about that is Mike Morell, recently retired as the #2 man at the CIA after 33 years. He was part of the damage assessment in the NSA that the NSA initiated to gauge the impact of Snowden's actions. And he says the damage that was done here is historic.
I do not believe he is a whistleblower. I do not believe he is a hero. I think he has betrayed his country.
How serious a hit is that to national security?
I think this is the most serious leak, it's the most serious compromise of classified information in the history of the U.S. intelligence community.
Because of the amount of it or the type?
The amount and the type.
But of the hundreds of pages of NSA documents that Snowden has leaked, Morell pointed to one in particular that has caused a great deal of damage to U.S. intelligence. It's a copy of the secret document the CIA calls its black budget.
What value would that have to an adversary?
The real damage of leaking that document was that certainly they could focus their counterintelligence efforts on those places where we're being successful and not have to worry as much about those places where we're not being successful.
It's kind of like handing over the playbook to the other team. He went first to Hong Kong and then to Russia. Do you think that China and Russia now have access to all or much of that material?
I think we have to assume that any material that Snowden had with him when he was in Hong Kong and now that he is in Russia has been compromised. I think we have to assume that. What Edward Snowden did has put Americans at greater risk because terrorists learn from leaks, and they will be more careful, and we will not get the intelligence we would have gotten otherwise.
Morell says that despite the significant problems Snowden has caused for national security, those issues can be mitigated, but they cannot be made zero, especially in a time when this isn't about somebody stealing a document. You go into a computer, you can steal an entire database.
Well, this has sort of become even bigger now, that this suggestion that, as was put out, that in one case an American official had provided the NSA with 200 phone numbers tied to 35 world leaders. Germany's Angela Merkel is furious about this, as are other European leaders. Let me ask you this. Is there an assumption that some people are off limits, heads of state, like leaders of Germany and France?
There is only one deal in the intelligence community, and that is between Great Britain and the Commonwealth nations, which is the U.S., Great Britain, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, have an agreement not to spy on each other and to share most information. There are deals with, I mean, you may recall that France, a few years ago, tried to get in on that deal and said, we'd like to join that we won't spy on you and you won't spy on us, and that just didn't happen. So every country in the world has a signals intelligence capability that they use against every other country that they can. A lot of the comments we're seeing from world leaders, to some degree, is for public consumption, which is, now that it's been disclosed, I better act outraged and just hope that what we do isn't disclosed. But I don't think any intelligence agency in another country could stand a test.
So what's happening inside government today as they review the damage from all of this?
Two things. I mean, one, they have to figure out, vis-a-vis the exposure of tactics and techniques, what the bad guys are already doing differently. Terrorists, spies, nuclear proliferators, to avoid that. And they've already seen a lot of that, and they've got to figure their way around that. That's on the operations side. On the diplomatic side, as Nora has pointed out, there are two things they have to do. One, they have to go to friends who work with us and share their signals intelligence and say, look, it's coming out that we're working together. That may make things uncomfortable with your friends. And two, they have to go to friends of ours, where we've intercepted communications and say, look, sorry that happened, and, we're still friends, right?
Thank you, John.